Hello everyone, Kris here. Now please don't skip this bit. There's something we really would like you to help us with. The Podcast Awards are taking nominations at the moment, and we would love for you to vote for us in these nominations. It takes about 30 seconds tops, and it would really help us out. Now, to nominate, go to podcastawards.com, then click the Listener Nominations Now Open link at the top of the page. Register for an account as a listener. Don't worry, it's free, and your details won't be shared or anything weird like that. Next, under the Games and Hobbies section, click the drop-down box and select Staying In, and then scroll down and select Save Nominations. And that's it. Job done. We don't do proper advertising on the podcast, and we really don't want to. So if you like what we do and want to support us and make us super, super happy, free of charge, then this is absolutely the best way you can do it. Thanks. Now, on with the show. Loffee, Faster Than Light, and Into the Breach. This is Staying In.
Lads and dad. I won't say which one's which.
Can I still be a lad if I'm a dad?
No, sorry.
Does that kind of rule it out?
If your wife has got to go through childbirth, then you've got to at least relinquish some.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Still not that even though, is it really?
What else can we make Dan give up? You're no longer allowed to eat your favourite flavour of crisp, but you now have to eat your worst flavour of crisp.
Oh no. What's my worst flavour of crisp?
Well, it's cheese and onion, isn't it?
Nah, cheese and onion can be quite nice.
Exactly, quite nice.
Ready salted.
Well, ready salted crisps can be quite nice. I think I'm of the opinion where as long as it's crunchy and fatty, as long as it's crispy crunch.
No, you're also missing, Sam, as long as it's highly acidic. Honestly, I can't be near you when you're eating crisps or even chips. You put that much vinegar on it. The pH level in the room changes so dramatically.
Oh, so when you've got really hot chips, and they're like, as a result, it turns into like vapor, it just fills the room.
It's like mustard gas.
Oh yeah, that's the problem with really hot chips is that I have to like double soak the chips because they seep, like all the vinegar just goes and seeps into the chip.
That is, I think, the most disgusting thing I've heard of this year. Double soak the chips.
Well, this will make you even more disgusted in me. Is that I recently found that Sarsens, the great vinegar distillers of this nation, make a not purposely for me, but a very specific vinegar called extra strong vinegar.
For Sam.
Is that just to clean your paintbrushes?
What's worrying is that that's now my base level of vinegar, because I've had it so much. So, I'm always worried that they're going to take it away from me and it's going to be some sort of like limited edition deal, and suddenly I'm not going to be able to get extra strong vinegar from anywhere. And B, I'm having to go harder and stronger with my vinegar just to get that fizz, get that kick.
Your internal organs must be pickled.
I'm going to live forever, mate.
Do we all agree that when you go to the chip shop, the vinegar that they put on the chips there should not be classed as vinegar because it gives it no taste and you always have to apply more when you get home?
It reminds me of the time where I used to work at a restaurant and we had like industrial jars of all the sauces and I had never tried horseradish. So I blithely just unscrewed this massive industrial tub and stuck my nose in it and nearly passed out.
Horseradish, right, belongs on the Wellington bell curve between mayonnaise and mustard.
At which stage of the Wellington bell curve? Is it the start where it's really, really high, or the middle where it's really, really low?
It's in between. Remember, it's a Wellington bell curve, so it could be going in any direction. It's in between salad cream and tartar sauce and mustard. So it goes mayonnaise, salad cream, a little bit spicy. Tartar sauce. Oh, what are these capers? Oh, horseradish. Oh, fucking calm down, mate. And then mustard. Oh, no, too much. That's the...
What about wasabi?
Yeah, but that's green, isn't it? So...
What's that got to do with anything?
It's in a league of their own. I was going from, like, similarly coloured things.
What, like a Dulux swatch?
Like mayonnaise and mustard are the same?
I get... No, I hear you're right, because because then it goes mustard, yellow, and then the colour's slightly getting darker.
And that's only one type of mustard. Whole grain, Dijon, French mustard. You've dug yourself into a hole here, Sam.
We all know that the best mustard is
Sam didn't realise that Dan is Professor of Mustard at Oxford University. Can I ask a question? Because we've talked about, and you've made fun of me in the past, that I listen to different kinds of music at different types of seasons or weather, say, for example. So, there's music I listen only during the summer.
Oh, yeah.
Because it feels quite summery and nice. Yeah, lol. But is there any kind of...
There's a little bit of bitterness there.
Yeah.
Any kind of recommendations you have? What's a kind of go-to, say, summer album that you would always go to? So for me, I always go to Coconut Records' Night Timing. That is my summer album. Or The Kinks. They're proper summer band for me.
I can't really comment because I don't really follow music to any kind of extent. And I certainly don't have seasonal playlists.
Well, Dan, I'm glad you've put this forward because I discovered an app the other day it's called Loffee. So it's like coffee, but with an L.
Okay.
It's a nice little app.
Loffee.
I've got it on Android. You may be able to get it for Apple, I don't know. But basically, it's this bloke who's a student, I think, Akeb Hamdan. Sorry if I butchered your name. He's a full-time student and a lo-fi lover. He really likes kind of that lo-fi music. And lo-fi, I think, is a nice genre of music that's perfect for this time of year when it's really nice and hot and sweaty in Wellington outside. He's got these kind of hand-picked kind of playlists that he creates for different times of the day, say, for example, and it's just properly chilled. So I can recommend that app if you want something nice and hand-picked and summery.
So what does this link into Spotify or
no?
Or what?
It's a separate app, and what's great about it is that you can have it playing in the background while you do other things on your phone. It's just a nice app that he kind of custom curates this playlist.
But where are the songs coming from? Because he doesn't have the rights to the songs.
Good question, Dan. I don't know.
Well, I think it's because people do this on YouTube quite a lot, and I have quite a lot of saved videos on YouTube of people streaming music from their computer and making a mix, and it's like a continual thing, and basically you're just tapping into the stream at other moments. So is it a bit like that?
I think so. Yeah, there are certain tracks that are kind of on there quite often. But he has quite a nice range of stuff there that you never really get bored. It's just really pleasant to have in the background. And I know some people may say, well, just go to Spotify if you've got a Spotify account. But I don't have a Spotify account, let's say. And sometimes YouTube really annoys me with the ads. This doesn't have any ads. So I can just have that playing in the background. It's just an instant fix for me to get something chilled and can perfectly de-stresses you. So Loffee, Lofee, available only on Android, apparently.
Apparently so.
But Sam, okay, so if Dan's not a music fan, Sam, what is your go-to summer album? Because you've got me into lots of great bands over the years we've known each other.
What's great about the summer is, and I know I mock you for your playlists of the seasons, but there's two different types of summer music that you should really be hitting for, and there's no other season that's really like that, I don't think. So in the summer you have your lo-fi music, the sun's going down, you're just relaxing and chilling out, and listening to things like Fink and Bonobo, Mr. Scruff, and all that kind of jazz, which is great. And then you've got you're driving in the car, it's 30 miles an hour, you just topped up your petrol, so you got the windows up and the AC on.
Okay, oddly specific.
Well, you know what I'm like. It's AC's expensive, so I'm only going to turn it on for special occasions.
So AC/DC.
And that's probably when I would like to listen to hip hop generally during the summer, because a lot of hip hop tends to be quite seasonally specific. Like a lot of artists do rap about the summertime. Will Smith, that's a bad example, but you get me.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's very rare that you'll get a hip-hop artist, say, on a Best of Christmas kind of album. So,
well, Run DMC did do a very popular Christmas song. So.
Okay.
Wasn't Eminem Christmas #1 one year? Wasn't he Christmas #1 with Stan?
Yeah, but Stan's not a song about Santa, is it?
Meaning that it was out at Christmas.
I'm so cold, I'm wondering, why don't you rock me, Santa? I thought we were cool. I learned about you at the school. And
I'm just going to let you go with this.
I was not going to go any further than that. So, Notorious B.I.G. is fantastic in the summer. And also, there's a band from the Netherlands. I think there's an album of theirs, a first album they released called Mind State, which is a really, really good summer album, which is good to go to.
Yeah, Dortmund was great. Like, we stayed with my partner's best friend and her boyfriend in their house. And that we basically were properly kind of looked after. The whole experience was incredible.
Oh, awesome.
I had the best barbecue of my life. Good.
What was on the barbecue?
Right. This was incredible, right? You know pigs in blankets?
Yeah.
So, sausage with a strip of bacon around it.
I love the way that, I mean, you can't see that, but how big that sausage is when Kris mimes it.
It's like the size of his head.
When you're a kid, do you ever sing you ever sing the song He's Got the Whole World in His Hand and do the actions? That's how big Kris's sausage was.
Yeah. Can we use that little clip as the trailer? So yeah, imagine you take the sausage out of the equation. What would you put in its place, still wrapped in bacon, that is better than the sausage? What tops a sausage? And a clue, it's not meat.
I'm going to go with like a halloumi cheese or something.
Ooh, that's a good option.
Or maybe a paneer, but maybe I'd say go with halloumi.
Maybe a pepper, like a bell pepper, something like that.
A date.
Ugh.
No, joking aside, absolutely incredible. Honestly.
Not if you don't like dates, which I don't.
I don't like dates, but this was incredible. Honestly. Absolutely incredible. Now this is the big thing. I discovered, lads, that I like beer.
Oh, no, what?
What?
I know, because listeners won't know, but I don't drink beer, generally.
And it was bloody infuriating, especially when we were in Austria. And
yeah. Where cider, which is what I usually drink, is largely an abstract concept.
We had to. I felt like we were delving into the bowels of every shop that we went to, and Kris would be like, "I've got it." He'd emerge from this dusty shelf, holding I found the last cider.
Yeah, well, we cleared out that spa in Salzburg.
Yeah, the kid behind the counter couldn't believe it. Yeah.
They only had 2 bottles on their shelf, and the next day there'd be 2 bottles there waiting for me to pick up. But I figured the secret now, and a lot of people listening to this will go, that isn't beer. And yeah, okay, it's not beer. In the same way, when I say I drink cider, Pete says, you don't drink cider, Kris. Scrumpy's proper cider. But I've discovered fruity beers, and I really quite like them. Because for me, on that Wellington bell curve, they're that nice happy medium between cider and beer, a fruity beer. I had this fantastic beer. I had 2 brilliant beers. One was called Raketa, and it had a little bit of lime juice in there. Well, actually, no, it was lime vodka, so it was double trouble. And it was just this really nice fruity mix.
Yeah, because that's not fruit beer. That's like putting a lime into the top of your Corona. Because there are actually fruit beers that taste like strawberry. So are you saying you just like a bit, like almost turning a beer into a shandy to take a bit of the edge off, or a full-on fruit beer?
A full-on fruit beer.
Okay.
That's what I've discovered. So now I know,
with vodka in
when I'm travelling abroad, I know I can order that.
He goes from let's go from one extreme to the other. I don't like beer unless I have it also with vodka
and fruit.
Yeah. One of my 5 a day.
What was the other beer you had then?
The other beer was Cactus, randomly.
Oh, the tequila flavoured one?
Yeah.
Oh, right. I'm seeing a theme. I don't think it's fruit, Kris.
Yeah, I think you're just really into your spirits.
But I don't even like tequila. This is the weird thing. It's like dates and bacon. Who would have put them together? But it happened. I mean, this is alchemy.
God. I just like the fact this whole holiday that you had revolves around you mixing things with other things that shouldn't be put together and having this wonderful...
It was incredible. I was sat in this wonderful kind of German restaurant outside with a fruity beer in one hand, Wiener Schnitzel in the other, watching Japan in the World Cup versus Belgium. And it was just bliss. It was lovely. Absolutely incredible. Filled my boots with pastries and bread I have over the last 48 hours or so. So yes, I can recommend Dortmund.
And beer mixed with spirits.
Yeah.
Yep, beer mixed with spirits.
I'll have a Carling engine, please.
Oh my god. What's the one, Guinness and... Is it Guinness and champagne? Is that the red velvet?
No, isn't that Guinness in Tia Maria? I do remember in a place I used to work in like the student union kind of club, and the bouncers, every time one of the bouncers left, they had a ritual where he had to down a pint of Guinness that they dropped a shot of Baileys into. So basically, as soon as you drop that Baileys into it, the whole thing starts to curdle and basically solidify.
You can't buy class.
And they had to try and down that.
Oh my god, I'd never leave.
So, Dan, when you said when they left, do you mean they left their job or they left for the night?
When they left their job.
I'd never leave. I'd still be working there. I'd still be working there. I couldn't.
Drawing your pension.
Fortunately, the bar staff didn't have such a ritual, so I was safe.
All right. Over the days and years, I collect names for my XCOM 2 squad.
Yep. And any time Dan or I see or come up with a name that we think, oh my gosh, that'd be perfect, we just drop it in the WhatsApp chat. New XCOM name.
XCOM 2 is probably my favourite game. I love it. It was recently free on PS Plus. So hopefully
I've downloaded it just for you, Sam.
Thanks.
As did I.
Thanks. I'm not expecting you to play it or love it. I'm pretty much happy loving it and playing it on my own. So, hey ho.
Because that's what friends are for.
Yeah, but the one thing I love most about XCOM 2 is the fact that I can name my characters and give them funny names and get to know them and get to love them. Do you want to know some of the great names?
So before you give us the names, do you want to talk about what are the parameters that we have to work within to give you a name? Because you've got a very stringent, you have a very selective process, don't you?
I don't think there's any parameters as such. It's just got to be quite witty and funny.
Some would say that is a parameter, but yeah, okay, go on.
But you like them to be puntastic.
Sometimes puns, but
and they have to be first and second names, so it's full names you're after.
Yeah, I mean, Randy Meringue isn't a pun, but it's a bloody funny name, isn't it?
So there's a lot of parameters here, I have to say.
I mean, exactly. I've got like max height.
Thank you.
Bag of chips, and then like burly waffles, boring sandwich, bourbon ricer, Plank and Aloe Punchface are husband and wife team. Aloe's nickname is Vera. Makes sense.
Yes.
So XCOM, I love the fact that that's one of the things I love. And actually, if you're listening and you think you've got a cool name, then at Mr. Sam Turner to get involved in my XCOM squad. But the reason why I bring it up is that I've started playing another game which allows me to do exactly the same thing. So recently, Toby Larone, Pete Czar, and Dave Jarvu have been called into battle on a game called Into the Breach, which is a game by Subset Games.
I think I've been playing a game by Subset Games as well, weirdly.
I think you have, Dan, haven't you? What have you been playing? They've only released 2, and if it's not Into the Breach...
I didn't realise they released another one. I've been playing FTL, Faster Than Light.
Awesome.
Oh, that's the one where you're on the ship, isn't it? It's top down.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Are you familiar with Faster Than Light?
No.
Sam, are you?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. How does it differ with Into the Breach?
Completely different on a mechanical level. The only similarities they share is that they're both like roguelikes and procedurally generated stuff.
Okay.
So that's the only thing that they have in common. But in terms of what they do mechanically, they're very different.
So where can I find this game? PC, Xbox,
Faster Than Light is available on Steam and iPad, and Into the Breach is currently only available on Steam. So both games have a massive following. Into the Breach only came out this year, but created a massive buzz because Faster Than Light has been a bit of a darling on the iPad and iPhone and on Steam for quite a while. It'll probably be best to talk about Faster Than Light first, and then we can talk about Into the Breach. You know, work chronologically.
Well, I started playing Faster Than Light a little while ago. I'd never really heard of it because I don't socialise in the indie gaming circles, so to speak. But good friend of ours and friend of the show, and a good friend of mine, Duncan Malloy. He's been on the show before. He gifted me a code for Faster Than Light, so he sent it over, and what
a lovely chap.
He is indeed, and I had a quick go on that. It was fun. Although I didn't really get into it at that time. And it was just sitting in my kind of Steam store. And then recently I purchased Civ 5. And obviously Civ 5 is quite a large game. And so it took quite a long time to download. So as I was sitting on my computer, kind of browsing random bits of internet, I just thought, while this is downloading, maybe I'll play a game or something. I saw that. I was like, I'll give this another go. I'll just maybe I was in the wrong frame of mind for it first time around. So I started playing it. And once I'd kind of reacquainted myself with kind of how the game works and kind of re-understood all the kind of the mechanics of it, I started to really enjoy it and start to learn a lot of the more intricate areas of the game, kind of the strategic side of things, and understanding why I'm putting certain characters in certain places. I didn't realise that there was a game in which you created funny names. All my characters are named after you guys, so it's always
Dan,
it's always Pete, Kris, and Sam, and then occasionally.
Hang on. Who's doing the best, Dan?
I'd say Pete dies an awful lot. I don't quite know why. Sam is great on the weapons. Kris is great on the engine. Pete's the pilot, and he just seems to die an awful lot. I don't know why. I don't know. He's just not pulling his weight.
Dan, can I suggest a name for your captain next time you play?
Go on then.
General Purpose.
Okay. I'll note it down in my little book of crap names, and then I'll use it next time round.
Isn't it wonderful? Because you'll start because Faster Than Light does the same thing that Into the Breach does. You can name both your ship and the characters who inhabit it as well. And as soon as you start putting that investment into, rather than just going, Dan, Pete, and Kris, because the thing that's wrong with that is that your characters will die. So I always figure that if I give them a stupid name, then it gives them the room to grow and become like a legacy character. Like, bloody hell, Burly Waffles has stuck around for a long time, and suddenly he is able to create this narrative around it. Whereas if it's just, bloody Sam's popped off again, right, here we are, Sam, type that in again. So yeah, start funny names, Dan. Is
that the way?
I've got another one, Dan.
Go on.
Admiral Car Insurance.
I might run out of characters for that one, but I'm sure I'll work out a way of narrowing it down.
And to finish off the trio of your squad, Major Shame.
Major Shame. Well, next time around, my crew will be quite eclectic. Let's say that. But getting back to the game, beyond the names, because there is more to the game than that. It's only I've only worked it out kind of as I've played the game, so I kind of worked things out for myself as opposed to, because I did the tutorial ages ago, I can't really remember it. It's elements like when there's a fire in the ship, one of the best ways of getting rid of the fire is to kind of close the doors around it and then open airlocks to remove the oxygen to get rid of the fire and that kind of thing. And whilst obviously your characters can put out the fire with extinguishers, often they can get hurt and it might not work too great. Whereas I like the fact that the physics aspects to it where you can open the airlocks and that gets rid of the fire. And if the fire is spread, you can kind of open up multiple airlocks, and depending on where your characters are, they will or won't be affected by you doing that. And each level, so to speak, is pretty much a battle between you and another ship. So you have a strategy based on what they're doing and how to work it. So often, most of what I do is I focus on dropping their shields, so all the attacks I have are having more of an impact, unless they're trying to escape and I might direct it somewhere else. So my plan of attack is constantly adapting, constantly evolving over the course of a relatively short amount of battle time, a lot of the time. And on top of that, you're then focused on, okay, there's a fire in the oxygen room, or whatever you want to call it. So I've got to sort that, because otherwise the oxygen's going to drop in the whole ship and everyone's going to die. So then I lose someone from there. And it's about moving those resources around to make sure you're still as effective as possible. And for such a small game, there's a lot to think about. I think first time around, maybe I just didn't get the rules right, and I didn't really get it. Whereas maybe it's because I had a lot of time to play it because I was downloading Civ 5, that I was able to just put a bit more time into it, focused, and I was probably in a more relaxed environment that I was just not really paying attention, that enabled me to kind of just engage with the game a bit more.
How long is it like missions? And if so, how long's like a mission? Let's say, can I just dip in and dip out, save my progress, or will I lose something by doing that?
I think you would lose something, and that's only the fact that I think it's a game that works really well with momentum. So once you win a battle, you kind of want to go on to the next one and try again, and go on to the next one, go on to the next one, build it up. And as over the course of the game, you're kind of given PowerPoint, so to speak, that you can assign to different areas of your ship, which you can upgrade your ship, so your shields will improve, your weapons will improve, and all these aspects will improve. So you do get that element of momentum, which is really nice, but you absolutely can come and do a mission, and the mission can be 30 seconds, can be a couple of minutes. It's not going to be any more than that, really. No. In anything I've done anyway, you've not got anything more than that. So it is absolutely drop in and drop out, and come in, you could do a level, and a level might be 8 or 9 missions, because you've got to get from one area of the map to the other area via all these different kind of locations. So you've got to find like a way across there. And I think it's a very easy game to then, as I say, just have a quick go, enjoy it, maybe boost up your ship a little bit, and then step out again. But it's a very accessible game. Once you get over that initial hurdle that I found, which might just be me, other people, you might play it and kind of, if you follow it through the tutorial, and that aspect, it might be easier for you to pick up. I obviously picked it up a little while after I'd played the tutorial, so it was still quite fresh. The whole thing was still quite new to me when I started playing again, which is why I kind of struggled at the very, very beginning.
Yeah, it's Fast and Light was just a game that I recognised as being good, but it's just not my kind of game. Like micromanagement games, I really struggle to eke any sort of enjoyment out of. The only one I ever really enjoyed was Overcooked, and I think that's because you're sharing micromanagement with other people. So when I'm getting stressed out, I can just shout at Kris to go and do something, whereas really I'm probably to blame for being really poor at the game anyway. So like Pokemon and Zelda Breath of the Wild, like Faster Than Light is one of a few games that I know is really, really good, but I just didn't get along with because it's mechanics that I don't enjoy. So Into the Breach for me is pretty much the complete opposite of that scale. It's pretty much triggers everything that I love about XCOM 2, for example. It's procedurally generated. Each level is different. There's persistence in death. I can name my characters. I can name my mechs.
This really seems to be the biggest hook for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, but also, and this is what I love about turn-based strategy games in general, like the good ones, is that each level is essentially a puzzle that you have to work through. Now, I've been looking for ages for a really nice sort of small-scale turn-based strategy game, because XCOM 2 is kind of a time sink. Like, you could be in some of those levels for maybe 40, 50 minutes fighting aliens, depending on what your strategy is and how you're going about a fight. So I had been playing Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle on the Switch, which is a really good turn-based game, but A, doesn't allow me to rename Mario into naan bread, and B, it's not procedurally generated, so when you go into a battle, everything is set up exactly the same each time you go into that battle. All the enemies in the same place, all the covers in the same place. So essentially all you have to do is work out how that one particular puzzle works, and then you're through to the next stage, and there's no replayability in coming back and experiencing things over time. So even though I love that game for what it brings and the fact that I can take it on the go and I can play it, at work or whatever, like it doesn't really scratch that itch of actually making my mind work. Whereas Into the Breach has that effect on me in terms of its mechanics. I'm thinking about it now, and I'm thinking about how I could have done things differently in different situations. So how Into the Breach works is similar to Fast and Light in its art styles. Has this wonderful pixelated art style that's strangely detailed in some respects, and it's really, really nice to look at. The soundtrack is also incredible. I think, Kris, you'd get a lot from the soundtrack as well. And essentially you're playing a group of time travelers who are going back in the timeline to try and stop the emergence of these aliens called Vec destroying the Earth. So you start off and you go back in time into your mechs, and you land on these maps which are 8x8 grids. And like all the best puzzle games, this is a game that really harks back to chess. And what will happen is you'll place your pieces onto this grid. You start off with essentially 3 different mechs. You've got a mech that hits hard and close up. You've got a mech that can hit enemies but only orthogonally, so up, down, left, right. And when it hits an enemy, it gets pushed away a square. And then you've got another mech that can only like fire like mortars really far on the map. And when it does, enemies or anything within the vicinity will get pushed north, south, east, and west on a direction. Like imagine like the explosion pattern of a bomb like pushes everything away from the square that the rocket lands on. And that's a really essentially important mechanic, this whole pushing idea. It's kind of what everything around Into the Breach like hangs on. So once you place your mechs, then the Vec will move. And the grids are really interesting because they're really sort of like detailed cityscapes, at least on the first island. So you've got these like high-rise buildings, and when you land on your mechs, these little speech bubbles come out the high-rise buildings, and people going, "They're here, Daddy, they're here to save us," and like someone else saying, "They're going to protect you, son," and like, "Yay, the Rift Walkers are here," and it's just like this wonderful little like burst.
It's Toby Larone.
It's Toby Larone. He's here. And so then the Vec will move, and then the Vecs have got like two different objectives. The first thing is just like stop you and to go up and start attacking you, and the other one is to attack the buildings, because if they attack and destroy enough of the buildings, you've got this like health gauge at the top corner, and if that goes to 0, then your game is just completely over. So they'll go and attack the buildings, and they move, and then the game tells you how they're going to attack and where they're going to attack, and then it's your go. So then, knowing where they're going to go, you then have to place your mechs in positions to help deal with the attack that's going to come. And this is the bit which is it just makes me salivate, like the prospect of it. So to give you an example of like things that you can do, there's like a Vec which has like a ranged attack. So you have like a Vec that their Vecs do similar things to you, like close-up attacking, ranged attacking, like far-off mortars things and all that kind of stuff. So what you can essentially do is you could push a mech that's attacking a building so it moves onto a square. So in the next move, instead of attacking the building it's in front of you, it will attack another Vec that's on another square. Or there's these things like little emergent squares which tells you where the enemies are going to spawn from in the next round. And you can do things like setting up movement and pushes, so a Vec will end its move on one of those squares, and it will be dealt 1 damage by the Vec like pushing up from underneath it. So it's got this wonderfully rich and deep puzzle mechanic within it. It's not just about like we've got to save the buildings or you've got to defeat all the Vec. It's about how can you build a synergy throughout your team, so that I'm punching this one Vec, so that means he's going to move 2 squares there, and then if I push him with the other guy, then I can move him onto that square. Or when I push a Vec into another Vec, it will do 1 damage to the enemy that's getting pushed into it, so I can do double damage there in that occasion. And because, again, like each grid is procedurally generated, the puzzle is different every time. And like chess and like the Duke...
Yeah, I was just thinking of the Duke. Yeah,
it's that first encounter is when they move, and then I just have to sit there and go, right, here's the puzzle. How do I solve it? How am I going to go about... What sacrifices do I have? Do I have to make that building fall here so I can go and protect other enemies and other objectives over in this corner? And then, to top it all off, if you lose and it's game over, you've only got the power to send one person back in time to start another timeline and help defeating the Vec again. So each game you play, each mission, is another timeline where you're trying to stop the Vec invasion. So as you play, all your mechs get XP, and they get certain bonuses and they get upgrades and stuff like that. So like Toby Larone, for example, I played a few missions with him and he got like a few extra like health boosts and bursts. But then a pilot landed onto my grid and I picked him up. I was like, oh, this is a pilot from another future that's landed. So I picked him up. So then when the game was over, because I'm not that good at it yet, I had to then make a decision like, do I take Toby Larone back with me, or do I take this like new pilot and then go and pilot with him? And once I decide not to take Toby back on the timeline with me, I've lost him as a character forever. I've still got access to that pilot, and he's come back now, and his name's Pete Czar. And so I've still got access to that pilot, but I've lost everything that I had that was upgraded with him. So I love that idea that you go through this story with someone and you build them up, and it's like, and then when it ends, you've only got enough energy to take back one character with all their upgrades, and it just adds that little extra something to the game. And at the moment, Into the Breach is only on Steam, and I think people have made a lot of noise about it wanting to be on iPad and specifically Switch, which I was kind of holding out for, but I couldn't wait any longer and had to play it, and it's become such an obsession that I've now permanently got my little like editing laptop that I use for this podcast on my kitchen side, and like I'm just turning it on and playing a few games, and I'm taking it to work with me every day so I can play it on my lunch breaks, and that's something that I never would have considered myself doing. Like, I've started playing mobile games and I've started playing games on Steam, and guys, I do not recognise the man I've become, Dan. I do not know. But yeah, Into the Breach, along with Faster Than Light, like subset games can do no wrong at this point. They're incredible. I spent the last hour looking at a pipe.
Hang on. Can Dan and I guess what kind of pipe?
I mean...
Crack?
That's what I was going to say. I think your guesses are very, very differently, whether you're thinking of University Sam or middle-aged Sam.
I mean, I've known both University Sam and middle-aged Sam, neither of which I remember having a crack pipe. I mean, admittedly, I didn't know you before university when Kris knew you, so did you just go through like a really hardcore drug phase before uni?
At uni, I never smoked a crack pipe.
So did you want to be wearing did you want to have like an old man pipe?
Yeah, I seriously, when I was smoking, I thought, what can I do to stand out the crowd? And it started off with I'd only ever smoke using licorice papers.
I think so, licorice all sorts.
Me and Bertie Bassett. No, yeah, licorice papers, because that's what Johnny Depp did. Then I thought, I could go one step further here, and I could get a pipe, have some tobacco.
I once did a play where I had to smoke a pipe during the play. I eventually stole the said pipe from the play, and I still have it. 'Cause, yeah, I had a great. I used to really enjoy. I mean, I've never really smoked, but I used to really enjoy just the act of smoking a pipe. It just felt really quite.
Please, I've got this image of you taking that pipe to the birth of your son, and you're sitting there on the bench outside, like
what, with bubbles coming out.
Yeah, and then the nurse opens the door and you just stand up, like pipe in hand, aloft, like Sherlock Holmes, just like, is it? Yes, Mr. Frost, it's a boy, huzzah! And then they're leaving immediately to go to the pub.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't show that bit at the end of the Sherlock Holmes stories. No.
Oh, God. Anyway, pipe, back to it. Come on. Right. We're veering.
Now, I know for a fact that you are currently doing up your bathroom.
Yeah, and I also know that you're currently having some issues with shower valves. And that's not a euphemism.
Yes, you are correct that you've got the right room and the right bit of equipment. So the bathroom's been completely redone. We've pretty much stripped everything back to brick. And part of it is that all the walls are going to be tiled. So before we tile everything, we've got to make sure that everything's watertight in terms of plumbing and everything works correctly. And so we've got this fancy shower valve that we've put on the wall. And one of the pipes from it started to drip. And so it means that the shower valve, the internal bit of it, is leaking, like it's letting water through when it's closed. So we rang the manufacturers and we got some way of how to fix it. So this afternoon we fixed it. Then I've literally spent the last hour just looking at a pipe to see if it's dripped and just watching the drips slowly.
I mean, you could just put a bowl underneath it and then you go away and then come back and see, is there any water in it?
Yeah, no, but there will be drips because that's how water and gravity works. But it's about, first of all, it's kind of about speed because we've got a deadline of getting the bathroom finished when you guys all come up to Scarfell Pike, because otherwise it's going to be a bit awkward. And so we've kind of ramped up production of bathroom. So if it's broken, then it's like that's a call that needs to be made like tonight or tomorrow to get a new one out and fixed and put on. So yours is a great plan, Dan, if we had like months and months to do it.
I mean, I wasn't suggesting you leave the bowl under there for months. and then dividing it by the number of days.
Just a whole stalagmite starts to form.
Yeah, it's definitely dripping. It's definitely
There's
dripping.
100 mils. We've left it for 60 days.
I think it definitely is leaking. So we were just standing there, and at one point I uttered the sentence to my father-in-law-to-be. I said, yep, that drip definitely dripped longer than the last drip did drip. It's just like, no, that's when I knew that we were just standing there.
How many drips does a pipe drip drip, and the pipe drip could drip drip? Well, you listen back to it and realise it made no sense other than me saying drip an awful lot.
But the thing is, it's just like, when you get, and I think, because the World Cup's going on at the moment, so everyone's pretty like wired for sport. So I think we were both like turned it into a bit of a spectator sport. Just like, oh, it's forming. It's forming. Yeah, can you see? Yeah, it's definitely... Is it forming? Yeah, it's forming here. It's going to trip any second. Oh, it definitely... Look, it's getting... Yeah, it's going to... And then just, like, watching it fall. Oh, my God. I can't take the dripping anymore. So I've got to check it at some point later on. And I've got to stand there for at least 30 minutes to check that it hasn't dripped.
What a life you lead, Sam.
It's a thriller.
Is that a life?
Yeah, Dan.
Yeah.
I've got a bone to pick with you.
Go on then.
It's because you backed Shenmue III
I did.
on Kickstarter.
I have actually got
that game's never going to be released.
I've got a bit of news on that because I backed it again today.
What do you mean you backed it again?
I gave them more money.
What? Oh, Dan, this is beginning to sound more and more like John the con man down the street. Like, oh, you know that £20 you gave me. Like, oh, I just need a little bit more. It's coming. I just need a little bit more. Just
Dan,
get me over the line.
at all?
Yeah, I think so. You can't keep on giving this shill money.
Well, no. When it first got announced 3 years ago, I immediately put some money. It was the first thing I'd ever put money on Kickstarter for. Immediately put money on there, and the only things you could buy, you have your high-end stuff. I think one of them is you get to meet the creator and stuff like that.
You get to change the characters' names.
Yeah, pretty much. The base level was like a £20, and that gets you the digital copy of the game, and that was really all that was available for it. It's going to be released on PC and on PS4 as a digital download. What I found out today is that they've actually added a new level, which was I think it's like £40, which was you can get a physical copy of the game. And I prefer a physical copy to a digital download. So I was able to upgrade my submission, however you want to call it, my contribution, up to that higher level. So I did that today. So now I'm getting the physical copy, having given them more money today.
Brilliant. I mean, I agree with you. If there was a choice between getting a digital and physical,
actually, have you heard about the size of Shenmue 3?
What, like how big the box is?
It's like an LP.
With Kickstarter, you get kind of emails and you get updates and as things go along. And they've just released the surveys, which often they get sent out, so you can give them your details. So they send me a survey and I say, okay, I want the PS4 version of it as opposed to the PC and stuff. The PS4 version hasn't really given any details, but they have given details on the PC version, including the system requirements for what you need. So I'm going to ask you both, okay, how much free space, without looking, how much free space do you think Shenmue 3 will require? Just as a guide, I'll give you some existing games, okay? So Skyrim required 6 gigabytes, okay?
Well, that's quite small. I thought it'd be more than that.
Dragon Age Inquisition, 26. Witcher 3, 35, okay?
Yeah.
How much do you think Shenmue 3 will require?
Well, I think you're leading up to the fact that it's going to be significantly more than any of those, like 52.
Okay, you're saying 52. Chris, what are you saying?
I'm going to go for 65.
As it stands, for the guidance they've given, is that your PC will require 100 gigabytes of data.
100 gigabytes? You're kidding.
That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. I mean, this is a guy who, admittedly, when he made Shenmue, he was making one of the most ambitious games ever made. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Shenmue 3 is going to be the most ambitious game made for that, but he has big ideas, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it could be 100 gigabytes of bugger all.
Absolutely, and I'm fully prepared for that to be the case. But yeah, well, I don't know that. The biggest I could find, the biggest kind of main one I could find was GTA 5 was 72 But I wanted you guys to guess a little bit lower, so I didn't give you that one as an example.
All right, so
Fallout 76 is being listed as 50, so twice as big as Fallout 76. Sounds like a very pretty looking game.
So, I just worry. Because I want you to have the game that you've always wanted. But I guess I don't know what makes you worry the most about this game is that they've announced. Well, they announced it for you a while ago, but the release date for the Shenmue 1 and 2 remaster has been announced.
Yeah, they mentioned the remaster that they're working on it a while back, and to be fair, I'd forgotten about it because I've heard rumours about Shenmue stuff for literally decades. And it's literally decades, and it's never come to fruition. And obviously, Shenmue 3 kind of, to an extent, has come to fruition from them. We know they're working on it. The fact that they said, yeah, we're working on Shenmue HD, that's been said many times before. I took that with a bit of a pinch of salt. And yet, just a couple of days ago, you have the thing that it's being released on the 21st of August, which is like very, very soon.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that. I don't think the games are going to age well, but I'm definitely going to be buying them. I believe it is kind of both games on the same disc or at least in the same box. I'm excited that it'll be offered to a new audience, and hopefully people will see it for what it was and what it's done, as opposed to comparing it to something like The Witcher, something like a Fallout, because it's not going to be, because obviously those games have evolved from the ideas that were put in Shenmue, the original ones. But I mean, I'm really excited about playing them again, kind of reacquainting myself with the story, having that. To be fair, when I found out the HD, and then I found out you could get a physical copy of Shenmue 3, I was like, well, I can't have a digital version of one and a physical version of the other. I've got to get physical versions of both. So it was a no-brainer.
Dan, is there a date yet for Shenmue 3? Have I missed that?
No, they've pushed it back. Not long ago, they announced that they pushed it back to 2019 release.
Cool. December 31st.
I've never been bothered about the release date, as long as it is released. Knowing them, the people who, not that I know them personally, knowing the people who have made it and kind of how they were with the original Shenmues, I can only imagine the ideas they've had and the kind of the work that's going into that. The ideas that they've had in the past have been revolutionary. I think they will probably try this again. There's been a lot of talk of a battle system. Chances are these kind of things won't work. We're in a different environment and culture these days to what we were when the original Shenmue and Shenmue 2 came out. So it's a completely different scope and scale when you look at the other games it's going to be coming up against. I think it'll do some interesting stuff, though. I really do. I think it'll do some interesting stuff. How much of it kind of sticks, I don't know. But I think all I need is... I speak for probably most Shenmue fans. All I need is that resolution. I've waited decades for it.
So I'm in the market for a good sort of RPG, like a massive game. Like I put 15 hours into Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I'm sorry, but that game is... it's a bit bobbins, isn't it? I just didn't get along with it. I put my time into it, didn't get along with it. So would I be better off playing like a Shenmue 1 and 2? Would you recommend it? Or do you think it's only going to appeal to people like you who loved it and played it and
No, it depends. I think it depends on how you look at it. Because I think it will be difficult for new players now to get over the weaknesses of the game, which at the time weren't weaknesses when it was released, but kind of games have moved on a lot. So I think for new players, those problems will stand out so much compared to what we're used to.
As far as I know, this is like a HD remaster. It's not like Crash Bandicoot or Spyro where they've gone back and...
No, my understanding it's like the Metal Gear Solid HD remaster or the Uncharted one, where it's basically a slightly shinier face on them, which is fine. I think you can't rebuild Shenmue from the ground up. There's just too much in there to do that. It's
they
not
changed
feasible.
Things in the Uncharted ones.
Yeah, but it wasn't the level of update as Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. It was, at the end of the day, a shinier skin on top of that. You couldn't do that with Shenmue. There is too much in there. There is kind of that entire world, which is still vibrant and interesting, and there are ideas in those games. The fact that, I mean, whether or not they change any of it, I don't know. The fact that in that first game, there is no fast travel through time, and you have to... No. I don't mean kind of getting from place A to B. It's you have to see a certain person at midday. It's currently 3:00 in the afternoon. You've got to wait until midday the next day to meet them.
I love that.
No.
And you have to. And you can't go. You're 18 years old, so you can't go to bed before 8:00.
What do you mean? Like midday on your clock? Like on the clock of the console?
On the clock the clock within the game.
All right. Okay.
So you've got it. The idea was that the creator, rather than give you the option, I think the fast forward was introduced in the second game. The creator wanted the option that if you have to wait for the next day, rather than fast forward, it's going to say, okay, then now you use this time to explore the world, to meet people, to play in the arcade, to do all this stuff. This is what you're living this life. This is what you do. It's a crazy idea, and it probably doesn't work, but it's a brilliant idea in its essence.
It's brilliant. I love the idea that Sam thought that it was like 12:00, like your time, like real life time.
Yeah.
Okay, I want you to visit us for Christmas, late in June.
When it comes around to within the game, when it comes around to Christmas, it does start to snow, and Santa you can see on the streets.
Oh,
That's the thing. You would look at that and say that's terrible. That's really cheesy. When the game came out, these were brand new ideas. And I think that's where some people will struggle with it, because it won't kind of sit well that these aren't brand new ideas anymore. But you have to appreciate the game for what it was. I would recommend it. As I've said numerous times, I don't know how well these games will age. I haven't played I've got both Shenmue and Shenmue 2 for the Dreamcast. I still have them. I haven't played them in a very, very long time. So I'd be interested to know, and I think I will get the HD masters because it's much easier to play them on a PS4 on a modern console. And they'll be updating the controls, although they'll still make the old control scheme available. You can have the old voice acting, which was god awful, but it's just part of kind of the charm of old games with that kind of thing. Often you'll get that nostalgia kick from hearing those old terms, hearing the fact that it's badly dubbed and it's awkwardly recorded, and there is a tiny, tiny bit of motion capture, which is the most primitive types of motion capture you can find, with faces that don't seem to move. All that stuff you have to appreciate within the time of which it was made. Shenmue 3, 100 gigabytes of probably just fluttery flowers and petals, and it's, yeah.
We've got a question. You can now ask us questions, because that's a new thing that we do. If you want to know where the questions are, then you got to go to stayingin.podbean.com, contact us, or just speak to us on Twitter like a normal human being. I don't know.
Or phone
Emails.
Peter Willington on 07. No.
stayingin@gmail.com. That's another one. So we've got 6 questions through from a very enthusiastic Richard Simpson from @We'reNotWizards. So, because we're always strapped for time, I thought, let's get boardy. And I brought a little D6 with me.
Marvellous.
Yeah, there it is.
Yowza.
So I thought we'd roll this once a couple of times. We'll see how long they take to... we'll just pick the question that fate decides.
So this is from We're Not Wizards, fantastic board gaming podcast that we've been guests on, and they've been guests on us. Lovely people.
Right, so I'll roll this. Here we go. Question 1.
So if you decided to get a group tattoo to remember your friendship, what tattoo would you get to regret?
Now, if we were getting a group tattoo, I want it to be a tattoo that only made sense when we were all together.
So you have to put our arms together and it creates the picture.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd not want us to each have a little mug on our arm or something like that. It'd have to be like... Or you could have it like... So... On our arm, we'd each have the process of making a cup of tea, and it only makes sense when it's all together. So, like, Pete has the kettle, then Dan has the bag, I have the mug, and then...
Kris has the milk.
Kris has the milk or the biscuit or whatever.
So one arm could be skimmed, one arm could be full fat.
How are you feeling today, Kris? Boom, boom.
And it's like, you know, Century have recently done it. Spice Road and Eastern Promises, the new one. Like, the art is different on each boxes, but when you put them together, it creates one continuous picture, a bit like it does in Lost Expedition.
Or Tokaido.
And that other game that you've got, Kris, the pirate one.
Oh, Jamaica. Great board
Jamaica,
game.
yeah. Something where the pictures are great on their own, but put them together, it creates like one continuous image. So I imagine like we could do something like that, like have like a table that stretches across our arms for like how to make a cup of tea. What else could we do? If we weren't going to do like having a mural split across 4 people to join up, I guess we could like pick our favourite like thing to do with like, I guess because we're not wizards asking the question, like board games. So like probably have like a little meeple on my arm or a picture of Noel Edmonds or something like that, you know.
We could all have a different coloured meeple.
Yeah, that'd be good. Remember when we... it wasn't meeples we took up Snowdon, wasn't it? It was little miniatures.
Workman.
From the board game Snowdonia.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That'd be nice.
But I'd get a tattoo of a little meeple. Sure.
Well, there you go. That's the tattoo that we would get and regret. 10 years then, I'd say like a couple of weeks. After we got it. Or just immediately having done it, immediately regret my decision.
I mean, once you've plucked up the courage to ask the tattoo artist to do that, I think you're fine.
Yeah, it's like, what do you want, son? And he'd be like, here. And he'd pull out a copy of Carcassonne. Just draw around this. And, yeah, you could do that. That'd be fun. Right, should we do one more?
Let's do one more.
Because number 3.
Okay, so this one actually follows on from a previous question, so I'll have to do both of them. If he was stranded on a desert island, which one of us would Kris eat first, and what would he think each of us would taste of?
Oh, he'd eat me first, because I get on his nerves before anyone else. Pete? He's shaking your head.
No.
Pete. It's got to be Pete. He'd be...
Who would be the kind of... Who's going to give him the most meat, do we think?
Pete.
I don't know, Sam. You're the fittest out of all of us, so you might be a bit more tender.
I reckon Pete, because I think if we were stranded on a desert island, I think Pete, out of all of us, would have very different ideas of how life would be on a desert island.
So you're saying Kris pointing him out of his misery?
Yeah, and also years of basting his insides with fatty foods, nuts, and sweet treats would probably make him taste a lot like that date wrapped in bacon, to be honest. Whereas, as previously mentioned in this podcast, this is really bringing it round tightly, is that I will be pickled and vinegared.
That's exactly why I wouldn't eat you, Sam.
Yeah, but you'd have to at some point. I mean, if you're going to, wouldn't you rather get me out of the way first? Or, well, what I would ideally do is use you all as like one complete meal. So use my innards. Use my innards to add some vinegar and spice to the rest of the people.
Yeah, that kind of works. I mean, I think that, like, for some reason, I think Dan would make a really good dessert.
Do you? I always fancied that Dan would be...
You say that as if you've thought about this for a long time.
Well,
I've often thought about eating my friends.
I think that Dan would be very traditional. So Dan would taste like, you know, a roast beef or a toad in the hole or something like that.
Comfort food.
You know.
Yeah.
Very. Dan would be very comforting.
A winter warmer.
Eating it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Dan would be like mum food, just like like sit you down,
a
like,
nice beef stew.
Yeah, that's what he'd say when you were killing him to eat him, just like, don't worry, I'll be nice to eat. And then
don't forget the potatoes.
Oh my god, I don't want to think about what the potatoes are.
They were just potatoes.
Chris, all right, okay. Where are you getting those from? A desert island? Pete's Magic Shop.
Yeah.
Kris, what would you taste of? No, Kris would be dessert, and Kris, you would be. I mean, I'd want to say something nice, but let's be honest, it'd be like a stick of rock.
Yeah. It would be like some celery.
It would have staying in written all the way through it.
Maybe like a, I don't know, a trifle, man of many layers. Yep. Depends what the season is, really.
True. What would Pete be, like the coffee and cigars?
No, Pete's the hash browns.
The hash browns, yes.
Pete's the date wrapped in bacon.
Date wrapped in bacon. Dan's the roast dinner. I'm the dessert. Sam, you are like the side. I think that's quite insulting.
I quite like it. Sides and appetizers are the best part of any meal.
It's a good thing the question wasn't asking what kind of tapas we'd be.
That was Staying In with Sam Turner, Dan Frost and myself, Kris Darby. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to us on wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to leave us a cheeky review too, we'd be really grateful. Visit stayingin.podbean.com for more information and links to all the things we've covered in this episode. And come find us on Facebook or on Twitter at StayingInPod. Thanks for listening.